Hello, everyone. Thank you for being back. So we have a great panel with one of our guests, Onefinestay. For those who doesn't know these brands, it's promised like a 5-star experience for people traveling, and they want to enjoy a luxury 5-star service, hotel and stay in an accommodation. Present in 5 cities. In two countries, and recently acquired by Accor. Let's welcome the Deputy CEO, Mr. Kevin Nilforushan. Clap the hands.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. So I'll let you on stage to explain a bit more about this model, about the vision, and we will be back with Giancarlo for making some questions.
Thank you very much. And thanks for having me. So Giancarlo challenged me to answer the question of why. Why Onefinestay? Does the world really need another way to sleep? I mean, a bed is a bed, right? And why this whole private rental thing and the private rental with service? And it was interesting because it's a question I've asked a lot of times. I haven't always been in the travel industry. I started as a venture capitalist, and when people were coming, the first thing we would be asking is, but why does your company need to exist? And some would answer with the head, as in there's a market opportunity. Some would answer with the heart, as in I need to get this thing out in the world because I believe it needs to be there. And I'm going to try to answer in these 2 ways. I'm going to try to say how we came into being, but more importantly, why we believe that there is today, both in the head and in the heart, a room for private rental as a whole different way of traveling. So there is something we call the no light bulb moment. This is a street in Mayfair. It's probably the most expensive area of London, which is probably one of the most expensive towns in Europe. And you go there, and the thing is, there are no light bulbs. These homes are empty. And it's not in the middle of the night, it's in an evening. Why? Because the homeowners are traveling for a big part of the year, and they don't really feel like letting out their home. There is too much friction here. They don't really need the money. If you can buy one of these homes, it's not like you need the extra money. Now, we used to joke and say, if there's $100 on the ground, you might be Bill Gates, you're going to bend and pick it up. But renting your home is not picking up $100 on the ground. It's more complicated. And starting with that, the question was, how do we remove all this friction? How do we make it so hassle-free that the owners of these homes are going to want to rent them out? And that's where we started in our thinking about what it was that we wanted to be doing. And where did it lead us? This was 2009, now 2016. Where are we? We have 2,500 homes. We are present in 6 cities. In Europe, that's London, Paris, Rome since this year. In the United States, that's New York, Los Angeles, Miami. We have this portfolio of what we consider to be the best homes in every city we operate in. But more than that, we consider that hospitality, I mean, people sleeping at each other's home is nothing new. It's one of the oldest professions in the world. Actually, it might be an enabler to the oldest profession in the world. We haven't really invented something here. But until we went into that market of the high-end private rental, this was a market with no global unified brand. In every city, what we've seen is you got all these little mom-and-pop shops. They each manage 20, 30, maybe 40 homes. It's always the owner doing everything, and they've been doing this for 20, 30 years. Acquisition for them of guests and renters is not really a thing because they use the same book of guests for the past 20 years. They use classifieds. People just give themselves their names. And many of these guys are nearing retirement. They're more into retirement than reinvention. So when we entered the market, we saw all these mom and shops suddenly start to consolidate, and we found it was a market ripe for consideration for someone who was able to bring a global brand in there. One other thing here is that, and I'm going to come back to it quite a bit, we are in the service part of the private rental market, and that is a heavily operational job. In total, there are about 700 people that are in some way or some other impacted by what we are doing, from going into the home, cleaning them, delivering the services. It's not a marketplace. It's an operational business before anything. We are a different kind of hotel, but we are running a hotel, except the rooms are spread across 2,500 different buildings. So, coming to the model, there's this Indian fable about how 5 blind people are touching an elephant and they think it's 5 different things. There's one who touches the tummy and he says it's a wall, and there's another one who's touching the feet and he says it's a tree. We are kind of the same thing, because depending on whether you see us as a homeowner or as a guest, you are going to see 2 very different companies. On the guest side, we are pretty much acting like the homeowner. We are the host. Our guests never know in whose home they're sleeping. They have a hotel-like experience in terms of the way they book. They can book us anywhere you can book a hotel, whether on our website, on booking.com, on OTAs, with their travel agents. We greet them in the home, we give them an iPhone, and on the iPhone there's a button which is called Front Desk. And when you push it, what you get is the front desk. It's someone in the city you're in, picking up the phone and trying to help you, give you recommendation, do what a concierge is doing, except, and I will come to it later, we don't really use the metaphor of a concierge. We say it's like having a friend in town. From the homeowner side, we are pretty much a service company. The answer to the question of how do we make it so friction-free that people can give out their homes and that people who have these homes are going to want to let them out, the answer to this, we found it by just summarizing what we do to the homeowners to, you have an online calendar, put dates in there, and we'll take care of the rest. So these homeowners, and many of them are primary residences, all of them are real homes. They will give us some days where their home is available, and when they leave on holidays, we would go into the home, we would change the linen and put our own linen and toiletries. We would clean the home, obviously, but clean it to hotel standards, to the hospitality standards that you know. We would be sealing their belongings, closing the cupboards that the guests should not be able to access, making sure that their home is well protected. We will take 500 pictures, just on the odd chance that something goes wrong, so we know what was where. And before they come back from holiday or from travel, we do the same thing all over again in the other side, other direction, and we turn their home back into their home. And the binding piece between our owners and our guests is service. We keep on saying we want to have the best homes and the best service. It's not and, or actually it's a very strong form of and, because these 2 things go together. We've realized that you won't get the best homes unless you give the best service, and the type of guests who can afford to stay in the best homes, they won't stay with us unless they have the best service. For the homeowner, their home is the most precious asset. For the guest, their holiday times or the travel times is their most precious moment, and that's how we want to protect them. So, why do we exist? That's a pair of jeans. What's interesting about a pair of jeans? It is that if I'm into brand and into what it feels and the use cases, I can say that wearing a pair of jeans is a statement that the fact that I'm not wearing one today, but I might be wearing one in the office says something. That the fact that James Dean was wearing jeans and maybe I think of him when I buy a pair says something else. And I could be telling all these things. If I'm not into that level of attention, yeah, they're trousers. I mean, I wear them because if not, I would get cold and I might get arrested if I don't wear trousers in the streets, but jeans, trousers, basically the same thing. And that's an image that's interesting because, yeah, if you get down to it, with Onefinestay, people are sleeping in a bed. And it is the same. I mean, you're sleeping. But what I'm going to try to do is explain how, on every dimension, we are bringing something different. So first of all, the very analytical management consultant dimension. So every single time in my life I've seen this kind of graph, the company that's presenting it is on the top right. That's an unwritten rule. What we've done is we segmented the market. We segmented the market along 2 dimensions. The first one is whether the guys are just marketplaces or were they operators. And the second one being, Is it budget? Is it high-end? Where does it fall among this scale? And what we have realized is, in the bottom end of the market, the right way to approach this is a marketplace. I mean, Airbnb has cracked it. They've done it perfectly right. It's a marketplace. It's the biggest inventory. You put people in touch together. They just deal with it. The homeowner deals with washing the linen and ironing and spending as much time as possible. With the selling, the pre-stay, the post-sales, and all these things that take time and he's not being paid for because it's just part of his renting his place. And the guest takes the risk that maybe the home doesn't really look like the pictures, but all that is on the goes on the budget side of the inventory. And about everyone who is not offering a service in some way or some other is either using someone else's service or intermediating. By the time you get to the top end of the market, as I was saying, you have no choice but to offer the service that you want to, that your guest needs to be having and that your homeowner wants. Service is what makes the top end exist, and that's why we think that there is a market segmentation here which gives a lot of sense to what we are doing. And funnily enough, we have all these companies that are like third-party add-ons to the marketplaces, to the Airbnbs of the world, to make it possible for them to move to the high end. We got the host maker, we got the helpline. All these things, what they do in essence is to tell the homeowners, if you value your time more than money, well, give us some money and we'll give you some time. And that is the trade-off that we are making. But now, let me try and answer this on a more unique level, which is a bit more about why we think we bring something unique to every one of our constituents. If we are a customer of Onefinestay, and I will get back to that, we have industry-leading Net Promoter Scores. We are above 70, and we are very proud of that. But that is what drives very high repeat for them. If you're an industry partner, a travel agent, I believe we are the only way for travel agents to to give private rental homes to their clients that works with them. And I will come back to travel agents later. If we are cities, and I know it's strange for a private rental actor to talk about cities, but we actually pay occupancy tax and sales tax in every city where we operate. And more than that, we believe, and I very strongly believe, I keep on seeing things about how, because of apartment rentals, cities are turning into abandoned places, and you need to have all these regulations or etc. I'm personally Parisian. I care a lot about Paris, and I don't want Paris to be full of clandestine hotels. What we are bringing to the cities is actually an environment where we are on the right side of the legal line, where all the labor we are using, the cleaning ladies, the cleaning personnel, etc., get paid above the line. They get declared, we pay tax on them, we pay social charges, and basically we bring back under the light a part of the economy which very often is on the dark side, on the black side of the economy. So for the cities, we are a viable solution. And even more so when they have this kind of one-of-a-time event, like London Olympics, Rio Olympics. Do you really want to go out and build thousands of hotel rooms that are going to be used once and then remain empty? I mean, that's just crazy. It's as if I built my living room so I could host 500 people because maybe someday I might get married. Well, when you get married, you go and you rent somewhere to get married. It's the same thing for the city. You don't build your inventory because one day you have the Olympics. You use the inventory you already have, all these apartments that are getting empty, to deal with the seasonal variations while knowing that your hotels are going to be adapted to the demand that you have. And employees, this is also something that I will come back to. Service starts at home, and the only way our employees can actually serve our customers is if we serve them. And that's a very important part of our philosophy, and I will come back to it later. So, guests. How do we care for our guests? There's a thing. We are very close to our guests. We talk to them a lot, and we try to understand who they are. And one thing we realized about our guests is that we are actually having the same guest as high-end hotels. It's not different guests. It's the same guest, but it's different trips. We might have someone who's, I mean, my personal experience, I came into Firenze yesterday night. I came in late. The one thing I wanted was a bed. I went to a hotel. I checked in. It took 2 minutes. I checked out this morning. It took 2 minutes. That's the best possible experience I could have had of staying in Florence yesterday. There is no better product than a hotel for this use case. However, I might be going on a different trip with a lot of my friends and want to share the same place. Someone might want to be going on a trip with their family and stay longer and hit the museums. We hear in studies that 80% of millennials have actually had this occasion to make their trip longer to accommodate for a bit of leisure. And I'm actually spending a week in Italy for work and staying 2 days over the weekend. I'm like an example of that. But it's not just me. It's more and more these guys coming for this mix of business and leisure, coming for longer business trips, assignments, 4 weeks in this city, 3 months in relocation, for which the hotel is no longer the right solution, and they want something different. And what do they want? Before anything else, in our opinion, is authenticity. I call that the Bangkok experience. Is you walk in there, I don't actually know which chain it is. By the time you get to the reception desk, maybe 12 different staff members have told you hello, and not a single one of them has put any heart in it. They are all operating by a process book because, well, the way that big hospitality has often approached the market is through standardization. Standardization means going through a book of process, but it also means not empowering the people on the front line. And what we hear from our guests is, and that's why we don't talk about concierge, we talk about this experience that we call having a friend in town, is that when they call one of the people in our team and ask a question, they have this feeling that they have a human being in front of them. I got this, Sébastien Bazin from Accor was giving this example that they made an investment in Mama Shelter, and over there everyone has got tattoos, everyone has got piercings, they wear I mean, they're exactly the kind of people that HR at Accor would never have hired. I mean, not in a million years, but the customers that go there, that's exactly what they like. It is this authenticity. And that is how we try to differentiate our service experience, by making sure that we are dealing with people, not process. And that sentence, which I use a lot, people, not process, is something which is key to the way that we are adding a service layer. So we show this thing about how it's living like a local, having your space, having an iPhone, local content recommendations. We talk about the fact that the homes are the best. We visit every single home. We keep 1 out of 10. So we do give the best homes to the people. We talk about the hotel service, but all this is the basic that work when you add on top of it this layer of service and of authenticity that I've just been talking about. How are we different from our homeowners? That's a picture of a Onefinestay home once we've been there. So the bed is made, I mean, no surprise, the place is clean. It's a beautiful room. It's not a hotel room, even though it's a pretty sparse bedroom. If you were to move in the living room of the home, you would find much more animation and much more things around you that make it a home and not a place, and that make it that people are renting or buying a service and not renting real estate. Well, for the homeowner, we do that. And again, doing that is the basic. The extra thing that we give the homeowner is the same thing that we give the guest, is peace of mind. Over the course of a long-term relationship, and we got a long-term relationship with our homeowners, something will go wrong. I mean, no matter how careful we are, no matter how careful the guests are, I mean, you all know something will go wrong someday. That's the nature of hospitality business. And the way we react at that moment when something goes wrong is the thing that creates the trust between the homeowners and us. And trust is a very important word. I mean, I use words like trust, like love, like care, which are not really in the language of business, but they are in our language, and I think they are a differentiator. The homeowner trusts abstractly that we will be there if something goes wrong, and if something goes wrong, then the trust becomes much more real. So, how do we bring peace of mind to the industry partners with which we are working? This is an actual real review of someone who booked a home, and yeah, whatever you do, don't cancel. Don't try to call, email them to change your schedule, because no one will answer. And that is unfortunately, I mean, not that specific thing, but bad experiences are unfortunately something that does happen a lot, because by the time you're trying to give a hospitality experience in hundreds of very different homes, you're bound to have things that one day will not be exactly as you expected them. I mean, if the neighbor suddenly decides that he likes loud rock music at 7 a.m., you can't, there's not much that you can do. You can go talk to him, but he might not be receptive, or he might not hear you because he's deaf from the music. What we've heard a lot from the travel agent partners we work with is actually their customers go to them, say, I want an apartment for my next trip. They go like, oh, no, don't do that. And the reason they do that is because their customers take a lot of time to acquire, and the last thing they want is risk losing them over an apartment experience they don't control. They work with us because they know that if something goes wrong, we are there, and therefore we will fight to preserve the relationship they have with their client. This peace of mind is very important to them. The other reason they work for us, although I'm sure that's not a big reason, is that because of the way we operate, we are able to offer commission to travel agents, which I believe no one else does in the private rental industry in the way we do it. So this is how we bring peace of mind to our industry partners. And I mean, I don't like a soup of logos, but it's interesting that we work with networks such as Signature, American Express, Virtuoso, Travel Associates. I mean, all the big networks basically work for us. All of them put us through very challenging selection processes, and that's how we ended up signing all these names, is that they realized that we were doing what we were saying. So how do we complete Accor Hotel? Because yeah, we've been acquired in April by Accor Hotel for 150 million and additional investment to help us grow. How did that happen? We were fundraising at the time, and we spoke with every big hospitality group. And there's one experience we had every time is that every big hotel chain was like looking at us like from afar and trying to poke and see what the hell was going on with us. And all of them, the primary motivation and driver they had was fear, as in, this thing is not happening, and if I don't look at it, it's not going to happen. Accor, the very first meeting with Accor and with Sébastien Bazin, he came with a very clear view, that is, people actually want to be staying in apartments, and not for the same kind of usage that they're doing with hotels. It's just a market that is huge, that is fragmented, that is getting consolidated, and either we, Accor, can get in on that, and it might be a third of our revenue in 10 years' time, or we can stay out of it, and it's going to be a lot of someone else's revenue. And while Accor is an operator, and everything they do is as an operator, it's not as a marketplace, even though they have one. It's not as an investor, even if they are one. It's an operating culture and DNA. They thought, well, let's go in there with the one actor who is an operator in the segment of the market where it's important to be an operator. And they realized that we have different trips, same guests. We have families, mostly. They have mostly singles and couples. People with us stay more than 4 nights. They stay up to a couple of months when they're relocating for business. People in hotels, well, they stay 1 to 3 nights a lot of the time. They come to us for authenticity and privacy. They go to a hotel for convenience and service. They come to us, for instance, for extended stays, because that's something which you can do in a home much better. They go to a hotel for all the other things that are in a hotel. I mean, a hotel is a nest open 24 hours a day. You can have conferences in there. There's a lot of things that you can do that you can't do in our homes. You can't cook dinner, which you can do in our homes. So that is how we complement Accor Hotel, and that is how the acquisition came to be. So, how do we bring something unique to our teams? That's from a wall in the office. There's a picture of every single person. And the reason I put that in is I strongly believe that the most exciting thing about hospitality, high-end hospitality right now, is HR. I believe that we are at the end of the model where we tried to hire people for what made them different and ask them to act the same. Or we basically tried to turn people into robots. Our model is so decentralized, is so reliant on someone who is alone in a home greeting a guest, that it would not be possible without trust and empowerment. And a very big part of chain hospitality has been built on the false premise that trust is not scalable. We are intending with all our might to demonstrate that you can trust scale and that HR can be a key competitive differentiator, that when you hire the right people and you give them the why as to why are we doing this, why is it not just about selling bed but about touching people's soul, then they will act in the right way. And by doing that, we are replacing a book of standards by a book of values. We are going into sharing a vision, and it might be poetic at times, but the more I think about it, the more we came to the realization that people are worth fighting for. Thank you.
I knew. I was such a high shoes today, high heels. So thank you, Kevin, for your
Have a seat on the main
contribution.
chair. On the main chair.
On the main
here.
chairs.
Oh, here.
This
Okay.
time we are
the
two
throne.
interviewing, so we go there.
So many thanks. It was so interesting. We were discussing, and that generates much more questions than I have. So it's your fault. Giancarlo.
In the audience, there's a few people from the Accor in Italy, which they say, I want to see the company we have acquired, because they don't know you yet.
So we have a face to Onefinestay. Giancarlo, do you want to introduce maybe your question or ask them? Or?
One question. We decided to invite you last year because Philip Wolf has a fantastic experience in one of your apartments in New York, and he was impressed. And then after Philip will talk about that, he was impressed about your service. You were let's say the first one on having a focus on service. So, as you know, I'm an hotelier, and the things that hoteliers say every day, or they were saying before was. I'm not going to have problems with the yes, it's apartments, so it doesn't mean service. It doesn't mean that one. That as an hotelier, we do service. We have restaurant. We have a lot of things. Now it's not that anymore. You were the first to have a different concept in that, and so I want to know exactly how this came in mind. Now we have the Airbnb guys, which are doing a lot of things. And the second one, you mentioned Sébastien Bazin. And I mentioned him this morning because it was my biggest regret not to have him for BTO this year, because it's on an hotelier point of view to see an hotelier company like Accor buying a company like you, it sounds really different. It means the world is moving somewhere else. What do you think?
Yeah. Yes, I've been really both surprised and impressed with the Accor culture. And the way at which communication flows faster in their top management than in a startup like us sometimes. It's, I think when you start and you're a group of 220,000 people, there's two ways to go about innovation. One is you buy a startup, then you kill it because there's so much size difference that it doesn't work. The other is that you go from the beginning understanding that there's a million reasons why a startup is different. And so you have to make a very conscious effort of making us coexist in the same space. And what we've been seeing Sébastien and everyone at Accor doing is having a strong vision. They're not buying random companies. They have a vision of where the world is going, so everything is coherent. But when they buy them, they keep the things that make us a startup. And maybe in 5 years' time, we will be totally integrated. And, but today, it's very important to them and to us that we are run like an independent company inside the Accor group.
So, Kevin, my question I was asking just slightly before. You want to differentiate so badly from Airbnb because more unique is the brand, better it's recognized by consumer, I guess. So you are like in the luxury segment, exclusive accommodation, exclusive stay, high-end services. So my question is your target more a luxury target, or is more like a target of occasions? That means people once, I don't know, in a life, or once in a month, or once in a year, they decide for a special occasion, birthday, bachelorette party, honeymoon, to go for one fine stay, or it's a luxury regular traveler? Who is exactly your target?
I think we have both. Many of the people coming and traveling with us have traveled several times to the city before they come and stay with us. And for them, it's the regular traveler. And what they will find with us that they would not find with Airbnb is or any other thing. It's, first of all, you have pictures of a home, but with us, you are getting the home that is on the pictures. The pictures tell the truth, the service tells the truth, and that's the peace of mind that they're getting. I think the other thing which is very important is like the safety net of knowing that even if we don't live in the home with them, we are there. And that brings us to this aspect of luxury, which is more about the experience. You're coming, you want to experience going to the market and cooking your own dinner, but in order to do that, you want to know that someone tells you what the right market is, and if everything goes wrong, we are here to help you get it right. So we get a call from someone who's at the hairdresser, as in, I'm getting my hair cut in Paris, but can you translate? Because if you don't, I'm worried. And this is the kind of experiences that we may happen.
So you say it's a luxury, so it's a regular, some are regular travelers, some others are just, they want to have something so very, very beautiful to look at. Talking about like the special needs and also those kind of luxury travelers, can you dispel the myth that these people are really booking online nowadays, or you still have some trouble on that? So, for example, to transact 1,000, how much is your average booking value? 1,000?
No, we're at several thousand.
7,000?
Several thousand.
Several thousand. So
yeah.
Does these people really book and transact online, or do you have a lot of exchange, mail exchange, phone calls exchange?
No, people who've stayed with us before will book online, but the vast majority of our guests are just going to search online and then get on the phone with us or on email with us. They will actually, what we realize is that a home is not a standard thing, and there's a lot of questions that you might want to ask, which may be as easy as, if I'm in the bedroom, will I hear the child crying in the other room? And for that, we have a 24-hour reservations team that is doing advisory sales, basically. They're not taking bookings, they're answering questions.
Okay, so luxury, as we said just before, is not for everyone.
It's not for everyone all the time. It depends what you value most. I mean, I value having a great travel experience, so I might spend a bit more on travel. There are other things which I'm very simple with, and I don't really care about the comfort. Some people have different choices here.
But at least people can aim to travel, to have a one fine stay experience once in a life, probably. Okay. Giancarlo, you have some questions?
I have I have a question.
Philip has, right.
Yeah. So maybe I'm the only one. How many of you have used One Fine Stay? Two of us.
Two have used.
Wow.
You're a niche.
Couple of questions. So I also know Sebastian very well. He spoke at the Focusrite conference, and I was also a speaker at the Accor internal meeting last year in July in Amsterdam. So I'm wondering, because I know Accor's strategy is for the concierges at the properties and the services like spa, restaurant, gym, are to focus on the community, not just in-house guests. So I'm wondering if that's something you're strategizing where One Fine Stay customers can use Accor property services.
Yeah, so I said earlier, a hotel is open 24 hours a day, and it's a shame that no one would ever go into a hotel in their own city. I mean, you get a couple of places that got a bar which is famous or restaurants, but generally you won't go there. And the whole thing is about how do we open this thing up? How do we use it? And in the drive that Accor has to make these hotels a place that people go to, and Mama Shelter is a great experience on that area, by the way. The restaurant at Mama Shelter is a restaurant. Everyone in the area goes there, and the hotel guests go there. We want, and it's going to take a bit more time, but we want the One Fine Stay guests to be able to go to the spa at the nearest Sofitel or the nearest Fairmont. That's obviously something which has to happen and which will happen someday. Now it's all about making it happen.
Right. Let's talk about the big guy in the room, the big elephant in the room. So obviously Airbnb. what's your real differentiation from them? Only luxury, or let's say you think it's something similar to their experience? You want to differentiate very, very much from what they're doing, these guys? Let's say Airbnb and HomeAway, obviously, it's 80% of the market, probably, or more or less. Then we are seeing some smaller company like you, like another one which I know Accor had invested in is Oasis Collection.
Yeah.
So they're trying to capture a niche of the market with experience. With what kind of real experience you want to offer?
Well, I have tremendous respect for Airbnb. I think the one thing that we bring that they don't bring is peace of mind. Everything we do as a company is around this peace of mind. If you try to call Airbnb and get them on the phone, you won't. I mean, ever. You can spend 5 hours doing a website, you won't. That is good because they're competing on price. Every low-cost company is going to do the same thing.
Right.
If you go to a website, the phone number is on every single page of the website. New economy is not about new models. It's a lot of the time about being able to talk to real people. I mean, one of the reasons why people go and rent a car with Zipcar instead of with Avis is that Avis, if you try to get to customer service, you won't. There's a phone line and you have to punch 10 numbers and you never, while Zipcar, you have someone. And I think it's the kind of the same thing where we're actually more new economy in that sense, in that there are real people behind the line, while Airbnb is ring-fencing a bit too much, I believe, their service people.
That's a great answer.
We have an audience question.
Right?
Hi, Daniele from Criteo. Hi, Kevin. Thank you for your speech today. I was wondering if you foresee a future where some of your properties could actually be distributed online through the Accor Hotels marketplace that they are building.
So we definitely foresee a world where Accor is going to be distributing us. For all their offline sales channel, like corporate sales, travel agent sales, this is already happening, except there's a lot of people to train and to talk to, so it takes time. For the online channels, it's a harder problem to solve because presenting an apartment is not the same as presenting a hotel. What happens if in accorhotel.com London, you suddenly add 1,000 apartments because we have 1,000 apartments in London? I mean, you would have more apartments than they have hotels, and that wouldn't really... What happens to the mapping, as in what is a bed, what is a bedroom, what is a child's bed? These are concepts which do not exist in the same way in the hotel world. We want to own this mapping as to how apartments are distributed in spaces where traditionally only hotel rooms have been distributed, and we're working on this with them, but we're not there yet.
Julia.
So yeah, I have many other questions. But talking about commitment, can you maybe tell people, now you opened in Rome recently, last summer. So which kind of commitment you have with the owner of the house? For example, I guess you don't have an allotment, but you cannot really rent a home when the owner goes on holidays because it may go, I don't know, twice per year, and you need to ensure a results page, so database. So which kind of commitment you have with the owner? What do you recommend people that they wanted to join the family with their exclusive property they may have in Rome, Florence, in Venice, and so on? So we were yesterday in an exclusive property. I think it's perfect for Onefinestay, Palazzo Gondi. It was amazing. So this is perfect, I guess.
I would love to have this one on Onefinestay. It would certainly justify opening in Florence just for that. Yeah, when we visit the home, we talk with the homeowner about what they want to do. For it to work, they have to be away at least, I would say, 8 to 10 weeks every year, sometimes more. And it's not an allotment, as in if something happens and they don't travel, we're not going to beat them up. But this is the moral commitment we ask from them, and the other moral commitment we ask is exclusivity. Because if you could buy the same home as a Onefinestay home anywhere on the web or anywhere in an agency, that wouldn't work. That's the commitment they make to us, and the commitment we make to them is that this allows us to care for their home and make sure that even if there isn't a guest in there and something happens in there, we can act on it.
What about these owners? I guess they are rich people, probably. they are monetizing because they want to have some, I don't know, pocket money, as in Airbnb, or they are monetizing because they want to get, they make investments, so I guess it's not the property where they probably are living, mainly living. So which kind of owners do they call you or are you dealing with?
So it's often their primary residence, not always,
Primary
but
residence,
often,
okay.
yes. Some of them do it for the money. They know that we are not the way to make the most money, but we are probably the safest way to make a reasonable amount of money.
Okay.
Some of them do it because they don't want their home empty. They feel safer with us in there. Some of them do it because they find it's cool. I mean, I think the big shift that has happened...
But they don't have any contact, any contact with the guests, right?
They don't have any contact with the guests, but they have contact with each other. We treat our members as a club, and we run events for them, and so it's a community.
Okay. And the question is, when you go to a flat, to an apartment, and of course it's luxury, but there is something like kitsch, let me say, what do you try to say or to do in order to make it a one fine stay properly, no? Because if I think about handmade, okay, it can be several cases that you find stuff that people you know already won't like at all.
Yeah. There's good and bad kitsch. If it's like something bizarre,
like for example,
I can tell
a
you
tiger.
one. I can tell you one which has happened to me in an Airbnb apartments. I find a pair of handcuffs in the cutlery.
yes.
Oh,
So
a head of, I don't know, some...
a head of an animal
cow.
on the wall. Yes, that happens a lot.
Giancarlo, did you use them? No, don't answer. Don't answer that.
can happen, right? That's something absolutely not like, that doesn't fit at all.
Yeah.
And you need to tell in a nice way.
But for instance,
They get it.
we got some art which is
Or you
sexually
just
explicit.
hide it.
We just tell the guest. We have a thing on our website we call home truths. These are the things that we tell you and that maybe other people wouldn't want you to know,
I
but we
read
tell
that.
you.
There was one of the questions that I saw that you don't have any reviews, so it's by choice, it's because you don't have enough content, or because this target doesn't review normally, this luxury travel. But you have this strat section with all the bad of the house, like noisy rooms and small elevators and so on. Not about bad, I don't know, decoration. It's not about that. So the reason is, why not the reviews there, and how is working this truth? Because I think everyone can use in their hotel website to tell exactly what's wrong in their property. That's really like, I think we make big difference to know in advance what I'm going to face as a customer.
Yeah, I think this is the kind of honesty that actually helps, because people trust you when you tell them like it's on the second floor and there are no steps, and I really want you to know that. They trust that you're not trying to skim them in other ways. Why no reviews? It's yes, because of every home does not have the same number of rooms as a hotel. Obviously, the numbers are smaller, but we are moving towards putting reviews in place. We actually encourage our guests to go to Post to TripAdvisor. We send every guest a questionnaire, and we act a lot on the feedback we get from the guests. So internally we use them, but we don't expose them externally.
Kayvon, another question. What are your next cities not in Europe or North America?
That's a good question. I don't know.
The questions are always easier than the answers. So.
Yeah.
Asia, Southeast Asia, India, Latin America. Nope. What are your next 5 cities?
So, our next 5 cities are going to be in Europe and in the United States, and they're going to happen next year. And then there is a question we're going to have to answer next year, which is, what is the right way to go to APAC, and what is the right way to go to
So
Latin?
if you had to guess, what's going to be your first city outside of Europe and North America? If you had to guess.
I would put a 50-50 on Sydney and Hong Kong. Hong Kong because I have no doubt that it's a huge market. Sydney because it's a simpler one, and a lot of British companies start in Sydney to then go to APAC.
And then I'm asking another question on behalf of the audience. They wanted to know if you would reveal whether or not you're profitable when Accor acquired you. I told the person that I don't think you would answer.
I will answer. We are not profitable. Accor disclosed to the investors that we did not expect to be profitable for the next several years.
Yeah.
And we are.
But the
open
good
about
side of that is they're investing in your growth story, right? Not your bottom line. They really believe that Onefinestay is promoting a unique category that's critically important to the business.
Yeah.
So you were with a company since the beginning, when you were a startup still?
So we are still a startup.
You're still a startup.
Yes. You know, startups is like midlife crisis.
150 million from Accor and still a startup. Huh?
It's a good startup.
Yeah,
It's
I think so.
You're a startup as long as you believe that the future is better than the past.
Right.
I've been with the company for 4 years now, and I joined originally. I joined in London where we were very small, and then I went to Paris to open the Paris office, because I'm Parisian.
Because we had invited initially Greg Marshall, which was the founder of the company, right?
Yeah.
And he, like happens when a company is taken by a bigger one, like HomeAway with Brian Sharples, then the leader quit.
Yes.
So it's for different opinion, or just it's now a rich man flying around the world and doing good things.
So he's certainly doing good things. No, it's just the kind of thing that happens when a company gets acquired,
Right,
and we shouldn't read too much into it. He's creating Onefinestay was a 1 in a million occurrence, and he's did it, and it's yeah.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And good luck for Onefinestay.
Thank you very much.
Kevin Nilforjan, Onefinestay. Thank you very much.